Hey everybody! I'm going to be talking about ADHD today. I'm probably the worst person to talk about ADHD because I don't really know much about ADHD. I very well could have ADHD. And the reason why I say that is because I'm a very, very unusual person and I don't usually function on an intelligence level like other people that I would consider normal. And I am abstract. Okay, I'm odd. So I got this amazing comment, loved every word of it, related to it. You identify yourself as ADHD and you would really like more conversations in the spiritual community directed at those with ADHD that are wanting more of this that's going to sort of suit their algorithm, you know? So let's say I have ADHD, but I never sought to know whether or not if I had it. So I'm going blind here, right? I'm living my life literally blind because I don't know that for sure. Now, if I knew that, then I would categorize myself in association with all other people that have ADHD, you know? So now you're not you. You're you with ADHD, which puts you in a bracket of all the other people that behave and act like this. And so you seek to understand yourself with the edge of knowing thyself based upon the language that which is ADHD. What if you're just you know? And then I'm me. And that each one of us came here as a unique recipe of our own and our own unique style of learning. And what I love about your comment, and I'm going to read it here, is that you are so self-aware. You even define yourself as being more self-aware than other spiritual people, so I think you can take ownership of that. And you also talk about how it's hard to follow these like curriculums in order to attain some kind of spiritual enlightenment, and because it's so constant. So I'm just like you, I'm in the flow. Like I don't do some kind of spiritual exercise every single day, but I do journeys every day because I love doing it. It's like you have a creative passion and you get absorbed into it and you go with the flow with everything else. You don't want to be in action. You don't want to force yourself to be in action. You want to be in an inspired action. So I understand that. You've got to follow what is your inner compass, and you seem to be quite self-perceptive and able to do that better than most spiritual people, which I would agree. Reading your comment was very self-aware and very honoring of yourself, just needing, in a way, permission to know that you're doing it right. Not because you have ADHD, but because you just are doing it right. You're freaking very self-aware, and it's really cool. It's a very unique skill to have. So I don't journal every single day. I don't have some kind of mantra every single day. I try new things all the time because I love creativity. I'm like a racquetball. I'm bouncing like like I'm like so many things, you know? So I do one thing at a time, by the way. I don't like multitasking because I don't like giving 10% here while I give 30% there, while I just smooge back. Well, it's just like random words just come to my brain like shmoogity bobbity boop, that, and then, you know, beep bop boop, those things, all the while I'm doing this. It's like one thing. So I put my heart and soul into every single one thing that I do at a time. So I am completely devoted from the heart to the thing, okay? And so it's like, for instance, if I'm having a conversation, I can't have a conversation with the TV on at the same time. I can't actually think in my head and listen to music at the same time. So I don't know if that's an ADHD thing, but that's a me thing. So I know what my recipe is for how I can be me to the best of my ability. So really, you just be mindful of how to be you to the best of your ability, whatever your goal is in life. Like the best of my ability is to truly understand what harmonious balance is and to find the center with it. I have days where I literally feel like I've been swallowed up by an abyss and I don't know what I did to cause that. So I accept it. I don't try to make it go away. I'm just visiting some weird aspect of myself that's in the dark. And maybe it's not even me. Maybe it's our collective chaos. And I'm just communing with it for a time, and it's really messing up my human day-to-day rhythm, which I'd prefer to be consistently bebopping, through my one task at a time. But it's like that happens. You mentioned how that happens to you. So one thing, though, that I do feel strongly about is try your very best to be in a state of growth. But you can't always be in a state of growth. For God's sakes, we got to sleep. So I can't stay awake day after day after day after day forever. Gosh, I got to eat, so I can't just fast forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Unless maybe I learn how the magic of achieving a breatharian status. I mean, I wish the starving children in Africa be taught how to be breatharians. And so you see how I have to honor that there's time for downtime. There's time for action. And sometimes I want to be in action, and no matter how hard I try, I am literally running in place on a treadmill with myself. And I'll find myself having to accept stillness when I don't want stillness. And I don't know how to make it stop, So I just have to get absorbed into stillness, and then I get comfortable with stillness until something tells me I've got to be in action, and then I'm very confused. Because I'm so used to stillness, and now I have to be some new person that's in action, apparently. And so I'm always like this racquetball. I'm always moving around and bouncing around, but one thing that I know what I'm seeking to be. I know where I'm going in my life, right? Like, what brings my greatest joy to the surface of who I am or through who I am? I've always been a people pleaser. I've been convinced of this is a bad thing. Like society, you listen to society and you hear all kinds of stuff. And then you hear that, oh, well, if you're a people pleaser, then that means that this. And it's like, oh, crap. I didn't realize that stuff. Oh, maybe I need to stop being a people pleaser. It's like, so much information out there. But I want to be me. I've always loved making people happy. Always loved it. Like making people smile. Like talking and seeing what other people have to say about certain ideas that are interesting to me. And then if I stop and I listen to what they have to say, then I can be interested in what's going on in their world, and I find that wonderful. And so I find this life to be full of opportunities of wonderment, and joy. And the happier we make each other, the happier the world becomes. So is that some offshoot of some distortion in my upbringing or my relationship with myself or some trauma or whatever? Or maybe it's just who I am, or maybe it's just my soul, Maybe my soul is shining through in that behavior. So I could say that, that's my version of an ADHD, perhaps, that I could be labeled by some kind of psychologist to define me as something wrong with me because I'm a people pleaser. I actually just have to be who I am and then navigate with what I've got. And so you got to be who you are and navigate with what you've got, because you're right. You've got to actually ask yourself, is being in action right now appropriate for me? Well, I want to be in action. Well, what action? I'm not sure. So you gotta ask yourself, what action? Like what actions do we need to be in? We might think, well, maybe the action is a journaling or some kind of spiritual exercise. But what if the action is just being still and looking out the window? I know the whole message with Aphrodite is about breaking the hypnosis of stillness. It's all in how we translate the meaning of what that is saying. And we think we know. And we may know something of it until we open our mind to understand it in a way that we hadn't known it yet. And maybe that's what you're saying at the end of the comment, is that you want to know what Aphrodite's, what does she mean by this? Like, how can you do this? How could you honor this request? maybe what you should ask Aphrodite, which she hears you, and know that this will come in time, whether it comes today or in 50 years or maybe 50 lifetimes, who knows, right? But that it's like, what am I not understanding about this? What am I not understanding about being in action in a way that's appropriate for me, in a way that you're referencing it, Aphrodite? Because I seem to think I know what it means, but maybe I'm misinterpreting what it means. And that I'm frustrated because I really want to know. But maybe it's time for me to know in a new way that I can't understand it yet. I'm ready to understand it now. You know, it's interesting, that Aphrodite video, it so much got jammed up inside myself. I had made that Aphrodite video like a week before I shared it. And then I kind of went into this this emotional phase. And it was like a seek to know thyself moment. And it's like, what are these moments about anyway? And what did I truly gain from posting a couple emotionally vulnerable videos so much? I gained the vulnerability of exposing shame, of allowing myself to feel loved, of sharing a deeper connection with all of you. And why was that so hard on me, you know? And yet it gives me the freedom to know myself again. And it gives me the freedom to take action in a new way of like a self-upgrade that wasn't easy, you know? And so how was I to know that that was the action that I was called to take? It just became it, you know? I just became the action that ended up happening. You mention here, and it's odd because I said that I was going to read your comment, but I find myself just responding to it now, which I should be reading it first. But you mention about you want feedback from your spirit guides, and you just get nothing. That is so typical. You're not going to get feedback from your spirit guides. That's so typical. That happens all the time. I go through an emotionally vulnerable time, silence. All I know is that they're with me and that I need to have this experience. I'm going to go through it. And whenever they're ready to talk, I'm ready to listen. And that's how I handle that. I don't have to hear my spirit guides. I want to, but they don't always tell me anything because this is my life to live. And so it's all conversation anyway. It's like a best friend telling you everything you need to know so you don't need to know anything else ever again. Doesn't exist. Isn't worth it either. And so your guides are your friends that are going to speak to you like friends. And they're going to love you through your hard times. They're going to support you. That's what spirit guides are all about. And so one thing that comes to me is I encourage you to, if it feels right, right? You're a creative person. I'm a creative person too. You know, it's funny because as I'm talking about this, I'm remembering something I forgot. As I was thinking about your comment while I was walking the dog, and I was imagining you just defining yourself as just a regular human being. Like we're all just regular human beings because we're just human beings, right? And so we have our nuances, our strange recipes that make us who we are, unique. And so maybe we fit into a category like, oh, there's the people pleaser person, you know, there's this ADHD person, or there's this, other kind of person. It's just, we're just people, you know. I don't like go up and introduce myself as, hi, I'm Abbey, I'm weird. But I know that people who meet me and get to know me are going to be like, wow, she's different. I might as well just get it over with and just tell you I'm weird. I don't do that. I just let you figure it out when the time comes. You'll find out. Anyway, but I was thinking about wholeness, and I was thinking about shapes. And if you were to describe yourself, this is like communicating with the spirit realm, but it's like another way with creativity to get to know who you are. Like maybe who you are your recipe is someone who likes to work with 1,000 different shapes, and you don't know which shape is going to be coming up in your shapes category for this week or for this moment. It might just be a morning thing, afternoon thing's different. We're working with triangles, now we're working with squares. Gosh darn it, it's giving me whiplash. Now shoot, I'm just going to bed and I'm working with straight lines. What's happening here? I can't even keep up with me. Like, how am I supposed to navigate all these changes all the time, And so that is what you're going to work with then. Other people, they're just going to work with for the rest of their life a circle. That's it. And they're going to be the circle people, because you can count on them to be consistent, always in the loop of their consistent way and doing things. They're not really changing it up much. Like, from 1 year to 20 years from now, they're pretty much the same person. But you might be wanting and seeking to work with the many shapes because it suits your vibrational patterns, because your vibrational patterns are the many shapes. So your wholeness is your own, And sometimes, like in my mind, I was thinking about the shape that doesn't really have a shape, because it just pulls you into some random abyss when you just want to be working with your happy triangles and your squares and stuff. And then you get pulled into the abyss and now you don't even know what the heck happened, but there's a shape down there that's calling for you. And you got to spend some time with that shape too, because all the shapes need you just like you need them. And next thing you know, you give yourself a minute to say, okay, well, let's say I decide that I'm a circle today. What does the circle mean to me? You're going to have to stop to actually take the time to ask the question. So that's an action, right? That's like, I'm going to choose to stop and take the time to ask the question. And it takes talent, and it just takes practice, but it's like, does it take talent? Does it take practice? Does it take a choice? One of the hardest things anybody can do when it comes to developing a psychic ability, like, it starts with just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking to your guides, but never stop and never listen to what they have to say. It's just like you're on the phone with them, but you never stop to hear what they have to say to you. It's weird, but it's hard to stop talking, and then it's hard to say, okay, tell me what you think, and then pause and actually know that you hear what they're saying. Those are the hardest steps when it comes to receiving a message. So you start with basic, fun ways of thinking about things that are different, if it feels right. And then you take notice of another thing, as you take notice of new things. And maybe the next thing you notice is that, man, I talk all the time, but I never choose to hear what they want to say. So you stop and you say, okay, guides, tell me something. But then you have to say, I know what you're telling me. So if I stop and say, I know what my guides are telling me, it's not because I really truly know, because I feel the message in there, but sometimes I have to acknowledge it for myself that, you know what, I can't, I've stopped, my guides are speaking to me, I don't know what they're saying, I've stopped, pause, like literally straight up give it 2 minutes. 2 minutes is going to feel like an eternity when you're waiting to hear from the spirit realm. It's going to feel like 2 hours or something. But you just pause and you feel present in your heart and you just let something come to you, or nothing comes. Okay, don't worry about it. But then you say, okay, I'm going to talk to myself now. What did my spirit guide say? And it's like yourself oddly knows that your spirit guide said something like, I love you and I know this is hard for you right now, but don't make this be the end of your entire life. This is just one day, just a tiny pinpoint in your total lifetime. And we're here with you. It's almost like you know what they're saying. In a way, you have to give yourself permission to acknowledge that this is it, and it's just really not the message you want to hear, because it's not going to change anything. And so sometimes that happens, I guess I've just jabbered away here. I'm going to copy and paste your comment into the actual comment section of this video. Did I even thank you personally yet? Gee whiz. See, I was rocking and rolling to respond to your comment that I guess maybe, I don't even know for sure if I even said thank you personally. But okay, you are from ideology to unity. I value you so much. And thank you so much for your comment. I really relate to it. I feel you on a lot of this stuff. I understand completely. And you're so self-aware and you're so clear-spoken. And I have had the same kind of cringe level frustration if I hear another spiritual speaker talking about do this many times a week for this many, and it's just like, it's like some kind of spiritual exercise. It's so easy to say that stuff. I even have people ask me, well, how many times a day should I say the thing? And it's like, it doesn't even compute in my inner universe to even go there with that, because, well, you can, and it is powerful. For instance, here, I'm going to just, another random thing comes to mind, okay? So this is probably my ADHD, but it's just me, you know, a lot of random stuff comes to mind, and I need to just get this out of my system, so I make the videos, and you guys are awesome, and you make me feel loved and cared about here, so I appreciate that. So let's say you're somebody who's struggling, you genuinely have a demonic situation. Let's say you need to repeat almost like a magical recipe, there's magic words. Say, I am bright, I am love, I am strong. And it's not because you're just saying it, because you are. This is the truth of who you are. And so instead of listening to a demon say, blah, 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 you know, like demons say, like in my brain, I'm just like, don't even listen to them. All they sound like is like, blah, 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 blah. They used to sound like a lot scarier than that. But I've heard it so many times, it's a real eye roll these days. It's kind of laughable to me. But don't listen. They aren't. A demon is not telling you anything worth listening to. So what's your obsession with hearing what they have to say? What's your obsession? Like, why do you have to know what they have to say? Why are you even listening to them? I got jump scared because someone just came in the door downstairs. We're talking about demons. Okay, anyway, I got jump scared. Hey, you take me off track with my like energetic communication, you'll jump scare me. All right, I pulled back into the human world. All right, so you have to say things that are the truth instead of I'm scared, this demon's got me, I can't get out of this. That is language that you're taking action to speak it, which is then self-imprisoning without you realizing you're doing it. So then you have to take another action that's just like, okay, I'm not used to this action, but I'm going to try to build some kind of relationship with it. So I'm going to say, I am light, I am safe, I am loved. And you start putting your focus into that energy and nothing else exists but that. For instance, that would be a good example of why you would want to say things on repeat, and you could repeat it 1,000 times. However many times you need to tune out the other sound to tune in this sound, which is the only thing that's real. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to go on the crazy train and like say things over and over again. You know, another thing, because you're perceptive enough, and it's very possible that anybody with ADHD listening to this is quite perceptive. But people are perceptive, ADHD or not, perceptive people, or people wanting to become more perceptive, right? So creativity is like key to that perceptivity. Perceptivity? Creativity, key. Anyway, but okay, here's an example. I don't know how I'm going to feel one day to the next. But I know what I want to get out of my day, right? So I'm always going to be in action with what I want to get out of my day, no matter how I feel. So I'm not going to let my feelings get in the way of what I want to achieve with my day. I just don't, because I'm going to feel very accomplished, because I value the feeling of being accomplished. I value the feeling of what I can give back. I value those feelings more than I value avoiding that to do nothing, instead of something. But sometimes if I wake up and I'm disoriented and it's not a good start to my day, because I have weird days all the time. I have weird days. I try new things all the time. I try new things. And so let's say I'm choosing to speak things like, I'll do this. I'll say my higher self is bright, my higher self is with me, my higher self is in my root chakra is bright. And then I'll say, you know, my higher self is bright, my higher self is with me, you know, my higher self is in my sacral chakra is bright. And I'll go through literally all the chakras until everything, there's something weird energetically moves, and I start to feel the illumination of everything that I am. And it's like, okay, this is a start. This is something. I can work with this. So I find these like nuances because I choose to achieve my goal for the day, that I'm not going to let this, the way that I feel, be more important than the way that I want to feel. So if I have to work my way towards achieving that and I don't quite get there for a few weeks, so be it. I'm not going to give up on what I want to feel in the day. So do you see how awesome your comment is? I don't even, I'm like trying to recap on everything I've thought about. I'm just going to wait for a second and see if anything echoes back to me. Any other miscellaneous. So I guess overall I'm concluding that this message might not be able to support someone with ADHD, but it might be able to support someone with ADHD. And that sometimes just talking about stuff is support, you know? It's just talking about stuff. Like you wrote the comment, you're just talking about it, you're venting about it. And so then I'm just talking in return, right? And so we go back and forth, we start playing racquetball, and we just start to understand some stuff, and it helps, you know? And now we're sharing this with other people, right? So now other people can listen, and then it can help them too, you know? And so we got to be whoever we are, the best of our ability, know what we seek. You seek something of a profound spiritual enlightenment, which you're already able to give yourself permission to say that you're there. So what do you want to do with it at this point? You just want to be you and go with the flow. Do you want to do something to help others? Like, would you say that, I mean, maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you. Only you're going to know. But you could say, have I ever thought about considering myself a teacher of sorts? That I could teach spirituality, like Eckhart Tolle, for instance, that I could have something of value, that maybe you're called to make YouTube videos to help people with ADHD come into a space of spiritual enlightenment because you consider yourself having mastered spirituality a lot more than a lot of other spiritual speakers. Do you see what I mean here? It's like perhaps your action that's unrealized is a potential that was unrealized until this moment. You know, these are all ideas. Like all we can do is work with ideas and then see where they take us. And it builds into something new and it's cool, you know? Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Thank you everybody for watching, for your kindness, for just being who you are. I appreciate you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and bye for now.